exclusively on ESPN Plus. UFC 313, Saturday. Reigning light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira defends his title against number one contender Magomed Ankalaev, and an explosive lightweight bout between Justin Gaethje and Rafael Pazzi. UFC 313, Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Buy it on ESPNPlus.com/PPV.
At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
Hello, Americans. Stand by for news.
Annoying. Check. Abrasive. Check. Obnoxious. Check. Irritating. Check. Tell me again why you even listen to this guy. It's Jeremy Lunnen on the Classic Guitar Rock Daily Update.
Okay, we're on. Okay, we're on. Here we are. Welcome to the Classic Guitar Rock Daily Update. And I shouldn't say this, Rich. We were just talking about Duran Duran.
Yes, we were.
Before we went
live. Yes,
and
we were.
I'm not
I told
going
him to stop. I told him to stop, guys.
Well,
I told him that he
can't
stop.
I can't lie, right? I can't lie. When we were in high school, Rich, you couldn't admit that you liked Duran Duran.
Because there was the rockers, there was the metalers, there was the preppies, what other ones were there? The nerds,
the waivers, right?
The waivers. There you go. Yeah.
So, but you know what? I like Duran Duran. I do. I mean, they had some good songs, man. Hungry Like the Wolf. Rio's stuck in my head. That's what started this whole conversation. I'm like singing Her Name is Rio. They had some great tunes, man.
They did. And you know, we were talking the Reflex, man. That
Reflex.
I used to stop. That song would actually literally stop me in my tracks, and I'd have to watch it on MTV because I always looked for that big wave that came out of the screen and landed on the crowd. And I thought that was so cool back then. Like that was like CGI back in the 80s. You know, you're like, whoa, that's really cool. Nowadays it's like, nah. Whatever.
So I think when you get older, you don't care what people think of you.
Exactly. Like I said, as soon as I turned the big 50, yes, I'm 50. We were talking about at the concert, Jeremy is old.
Yeah.
I'm kind of old.
Yeah. I like that.
Although I'm only a couple years away.
You're only like 3 years younger. Yeah. So you're old there too.
Yeah.
So,
but anyway, Reflex. It was a good song.
I wanted to have Rich on because Sunday night, Rich and I went and saw The Priest with opening band Sabaton. So I wanted to do kind of a post-mortem, get Rich's thoughts on The Priest. And, let's just first, I'm going to ask you a question. Rich, by the way, host of the Classic Metal Vault that you can hear on Classic Guitar Rock Radio.
Come on
every Friday night, 9:00. It replays at 4 a.m. in the morning. That's for our folks in the UK and Europe, right? And then it plays at 4 p.m. Pacific time Saturday. So you got 3 chances to catch it every week.
Check it out.
And if you're a metalhead, dude, you got to
just like Jeremy said, I'm over 50. We play all the genres of metal. Yep. Although I am a thrash metaler myself.
Yep.
I play the glam, I play death, I play thrash, I play soft rock. It just depends on what metal or soft metal.
It's a metal smorgasbord.
Smorgasbord with the meatballs.
Totally. And I really appreciate that because you'll be playing, Prong or whoever it is, but then you'll play Dio. And I'm like, it's all, if you're a fan of the metal, you got to check out the Classic Metal.
Check it out, man.
I'm going to ask again. Rich is my wife's age. He's 3 years younger than me. So, but we're close enough that we're all. We just have give me your Judas Priest origin story? What was your first exposure to the Priest?
Got it. So first exposure was an actual video. So back in San Diego, California, we had a rock station called KGB. It's 101.5, I think it was, something like that. But anyway, KGB had a show on Saturday night, midnight, just like the Headbangers Ball and all that. But this was pre that. This was 82, 83, right? Mm-hmm. And we were watching KGB Rocks 10, midnight. Me and my buddy, my best friend on my street back in the day, watching it. Judas Priest, Another Thing Coming came on, right? Mm-hmm. I saw that, and when that dummy's head explodes at the end, blew me away, man. Blew me away. And I was like, whoa, did you see his head blow up? That was awesome. Yeah. I love these guys. And then not just like a week later, the US Festival. So back in the day, 83, Metal Day. Priest is on that. We talked about it. Rob Halford comes out singing Electric Eye, behind the amps. Sold for life, man. Next day, went out and bought Screaming for Vengeance and British Steel, and fan ever since.
Those two albums might be my two favorite Priest albums.
Yeah, Vengeance is mine, 100%.
So mine actually wasn't much before you. I think it would have been like spring of 82. Mm-hmm. My older brother, his friend, who's also my friend, his friend Cole had left a cassette of the Hellbent for Leather, or in England it's called Killing Machine. That album's called Killing Machine. But Hellbent for Leather, he left that cassette in my brother's car. And so we're cranking it, and I just thought I really liked it. And even though people kind of consider this a lame song, the first song that really grabbed me on that album is Evening Star. I just love that song.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good song. It's a good song.
It's kind of mellow, but it's hooky. I just loved it. And I'm like, dude, I have to get this. And so the next chance I had, actually in Coeur d'Alene, because I lived in Montana at the time, Rich.
Did you go to Long Ear?
It was down to, it wasn't where Long Ear is now. It's literally downtown, like on Sherman. It was downtown. And I don't know if it's still even there.
Yeah, I don't know.
I went that day and bought, I was thinking about this since you and I talked. I actually bought that first day Hellbent for Leather and British Steel. And they're thematically, you got Hellbent for Leather, British Steel, and Stained Class that are all kind of thematically, the album covers go together. They're black. So I got Hellbent for Leather and British Steel. And like I said, this is probably spring of 82. Well, in August of 82, at least that's when I bought it. August of 82 at Kmart in Spokane, I saw this bright yellow Screaming for Vengeance. And so I bought it when it was brand new. Wow. So those were my three Priest. And that summer, the rest of that summer of 82. So during that summer, I wound up moving to Oklahoma. But that summer, that was my Judas Priest year, man. I was cranking Priest all that year.
Sold American. And so
from then on, and I mentioned this when we were at the concert. I had been cranking Screaming for Vengeance for a couple months before I ever saw the video for You've Got Another Thing Coming.
That's wild to me, because that was played all the time on every. Well, they didn't have MTV back. Well, they did, but it wasn't on MTV too much. But everywhere else, video was playing.
Just surprised. And younger people can't fathom this, but pre-internet, right? We didn't know anything about anything,
Circus Magazine, Hit Parader.
But
that was it.
I remember being surprised that Another Thing Coming was the hit off of that album. That was the video, because to me, it was like the fourth or fifth best tune on because I
agree.
Electric Eye and Bloodstone and
Fever.
Take These Chains, even the mellow ones. I mean,
Devil's Child,
which they played Sunday
night.
They
did. We'll talk about that in a minute.
So anyways, Rich and I we're fans of the Priest right now. Here's where part ways, and I know this, we can still be friends, is I'm a what's the word? A Luddite. I'm an old geezer, right? And so it was hard for me. I mean, and I've said it for years, and people hate me. They want to fight me in the parking lot. To me, the last good, or this is what I used to always say, the last good Priest album was Defenders of the Faith.
I am right there with you, though. I'm there with you.
Well, but some people think Painkiller's their best album.
That's a great album. It's a great album, but we're talking Priest, right? In a nutshell. You think about Priest, the full blown, those 3 albums you mentioned, actually 4, because Defenders of the Faith. See, Stay in Class, the funny story with Stay in Class. So I bought British Steel and Screaming Vengeance and listened to them till I was scratching them. I just listened to those LPs because we used to buy albums back then. Yeah. Cassettes were rare and few and far between. So I said, I'm going to go get another Priest album because I know they have like 5 of them before this. So I'm going to go check it out. So I got the cassette tape of Stay in Class.
There you
go.
Now,
Stay in Class and British Steel and Screaming are 3 different albums. They're different. Their Stay in Class is a little bit more mellower, less distortion, more clear type of thing. So I didn't know what to think of it at first. I was like, oh, that's cool, but it has some cool songs, but I didn't really get into it till I matured musically. If you can, you understand what I'm saying? No, you mature a little musically and you start listening to the guitars, the bass, the drums, the song composition, the hooks, the choruses. You start really hearing it, and then you notice how good that album really is. Stay in Class is a great album. But I was not a huge fan at first of Stay in Class. I had that cassette tape in my car. Remember those little cassette tape holders we used to have in our cars where you play it and open it, and there's like they had little slots, and you could only have like 6 or 8 tapes in it, and you have a tape collection back in the day, so you were always bringing it inside, swapping out your tapes every month, putting it back in your car, and thought you were the coolest thing. It was like a little lunchbox. It looked like a little lunchbox.
So here's what's funny. Of the classic Priest, well, my definition of classic Priest album there. So I've got every album on vinyl up through Defenders. So I have Defenders on vinyl, except Stained Class is the only album I don't own a copy of, which I don't know why that is. Wow. I came to that later for whatever reason, but just really until you could stream. I knew the songs from Stained Class that are like on Unleashed in the East and that. Right, so I knew some of the big ones, but for whatever reason, that album just kind of eluded me. I had Rock-a-Rolla, Sad Wings, Sin After Sin. I just never had Stained Class. Not that I have anything against it. In fact, when I go back, it's the one that I'm least versed in.
Drawn to. Same here. Yeah. It's a good album, but it's just not, it's no, like I said, if you start with British Steel and Screaming for Vengeance, it's hard to go back with that same mindset when you go forward. Yeah. And it just depends on the age, I guess, what you're saying. These people are saying Painkiller, but how old are they? Are they the younger folks? I mean, because if you grew up in the 70s and listened to Priest in the 70s, they're looking at, they went too heavy on me. They went metal, or something like that during the British metal movement, And that's part of my thing with Painkiller is, and I'm super picky about my drums. And Scott Travis, that's the drummer now, right? Scott Travis, yep.
Phenomenal drummer. Mm-hmm. But he's a modern metal drummer.
Bing, bing,
versus Les Binks. They brought Simon Phillips was like 18. They brought him in to play on Sin After Sin. They wanted him to join the band, but he already had a commitment to can't remember what band he was with might have been Michael Schenker. I can't remember. He already was committed to play with another band, so he couldn't do the tour. He might have done part of the tour. I don't remember, but the reason that Simon and Les Binks were appealing is, think of the time frame. This is mid-70s. Double bass drumming. I mean, Bonham played with the double. So they weren't the first players, but that double bass style, Les Binks was an early, because you listen to Carmine Appice or John Bonham or the big double bass drummers from the early 70s. They didn't do, it was a completely different style.
They use it for funkiness, a little
Funkiness.
funk. Yeah, a little bit of funk, not not raw.
All of a sudden, you see the beginnings of it with like Les Binks and Dave Holland, really good at it.
Yeah,
but then you get the Scott Travis and the later stuff. Then it was a completely different beast.
It really was. I agree with you so much on that. But do you know my favorite song off that album is not Painkiller?
What is it?
Not Touch of Evil.
Touch of Evil.
My favorite newer Priest song. Yeah, Touch of Evil is my favorite newer after Turbo era. Let's call it like Ram It Down. He didn't even mention it at the concert. You know, he was going through all the albums of Priest. He didn't even mention Ram It Down because it was such a flop. I mean, Johnny Be Good and Ram It Down were the only two songs that were halfway okay-ish, but the rest of the album was just kind of a nightmare, and I think they were in a bad spot too.
And to that point, I'm not saying they were on the brink of, but Painkiller really brought them back.
They did.
Right?
They really did.
Painkiller was a huge album for them, right?
Right.
Because they had kind of lost some of the fire. Parental Guidance and Johnny Be Good and all that crap.
Hey, wait. Time out. Okay, guys. I love Turbo. He does not like Turbo. We talked smack the whole concert. When I picked him up all the way till they played it. They played Turbo Lover live, and I turned to Jeremy. I said, "Here's your favorite song, man. Let's go." He's like, "I know the lyrics. I'll sing it, but I just don't like it."
I will say this: live, it was heavier. It was more focused on the guitar than the keyboard stuff.
And that's Guy Ritchie right there, rocking it up and saying, "This thing needs a little crunch." And dum, 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 dum. And he started crunching. I'm like, "Oh,
live. I liked it better live, but it was really cool."
So let's talk the concert. Let's talk the show.
Yeah.
So here's my thing. We'll talk Priest first. I'll talk Priest. But did you think, and here's my thoughts, this could be an old man thing. I was talking about it with my wife. Def Leppard was the same way. And maybe, we were right in the same general area where we sat for Def Leppard and Priest. Right. So it starts off and Panic Attack starts and the intro's coming on. It's really loud in your ears and you're like, oh, right. They're going to crank it up like in the 80s. Priest and Maiden used to war. Who had the bigger decibels? Who had the biggest wattage? They used to go to war on that. And it was in Circus Magazine. Oh, Iron Maiden's coming out with 220 watts this time. We're going to be, So anywho, I'm expecting Priest to come out like the old days and just, they came out and it was kind of quiet and mellow. And you could hardly hear Rob. I mean, it was kind of low. And I was like, But then as the concert went on and after the show, we all sound like Mickey Mouse and we're turning to each other. Hey, you sound like Mickey Mouse to me? Yup. Yeah, you totally sound like Mickey Mouse. and it was loud. I guess it was loud. So one, we're either old and our ears are so jacked up that we can't hear the loudness anymore because some 15-year-old was probably like, this is so loud. But we're like, man, I was expecting a little bit more. What did you think of the loudness?
Yeah, I to be honest, it was quieter than I was expecting. But again, is that because I've already suffered hearing loss, right? So it wasn't as loud as I was expecting.
Exactly.
My ears were ringing a little afterwards, but not like in the day when you couldn't hear for 3 days.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think a lot of that is, hi, Marlon. Marlon's checking in. Yeah, it has been a while, Marlon. Thank you for chiming in here. I think, first of all, and we both joked about this, right? When you get there, we go, man, look how old this crowd is.
This episode is brought to you by Coffee Mate. After watching this season of the HBO's original series, The White Lotus, this is the tropical getaway I needed. One more pina colada, please.
Hey, you're not on mute.
Oh, I thought I was in paradise. Turns out it was my Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate Pina Colada and Thai iced coffee flavored creamers. Inspired by the newest season of HBO's original series, The White Lotus. For the love of coffee. Try now.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
So that's the story. And I'm going to tell the story real quick. Same story I told him. He said, man, people are, so back when I saw Scorpions with Megadeth in the Tacoma Dome on the Crazy World Tour, wasn't that long ago. It was like 2017, 16, 17, 18 timeframe when they came around. So we're all standing in line at the Tacoma Dome, and, you know, I'm a chatter. So we all started chatting it up with everyone around us. And this guy just looks around and says, you know what, guys, this definitely doesn't look like the same crowd from 1984, man. Remember Worldwide Live, the Scorpions? And I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? This is the exact freaking same crowd that was here in 84. We're just all old, man. And the whole place erupts and just starts dying. They're like, damn, you're right. You're sure are right. You know,
that's exactly right. And
right.
And you don't notice yourself getting old. It's just the people around you.
That's
like,
the key right there, brother. You just don't. I feel like I'm 18 sometimes still, you know, and
so,
you know.
And I have to say, I even commented this to you. I like the old crowds better than I liked the teenage crowds because there were a-holes at some of those
You're right. Everyone's all nice, just very considerate, and people are saying thank you and please. And man, dude, remember the day you were like pushing each other out of the way to get a little bit of room? When you rest the stage, you're throwing women and children first. Nope. Not when you're rushing the stage. You're throwing people down side to side, getting up there, rah, you know. But yeah, it was a great crowd. I do love the older crowds, and all of the bands we go see, they're just, it's so refreshing. But one shocker, guys, we thought, me and Jeremy both, all of us did, that they sold the entire arena. Right. So I saw Priest in the Tacoma Dome on Redeemer of Souls, and they cut it to a third of an arena. And I'm like, man, I remember Priest used to pack them, man. They used to sell out arenas and stadiums. You know, they were just so popular, but they all kind of, and when we walked in, the whole upper levels closed and there's random seating. The whole end of the floor was wide open. Yeah. So we're kind of like, wow, there's not many people here, man. But right up front there, it was probably about a bigger theater type of crowd, you know.
And correct me if you have exact figures. I think the Spokane arena is like a 12 or 13,000 seat.
It's in the teens. Yeah, you're right.
So you cut off that upper section, which is the biggest section, actually.
It is.
They probably had, I'm guessing they probably had 8,000 or 9,000 seats available.
Yep.
And I would guess there was maybe 6,000 people there because it was full, but not packed. Right.
It was.
But you compare that to Def Leppard, and I didn't see an empty seat.
I didn't see one. Well, Scorpions didn't have one empty seat, and they just came on Rock Believer, and it was like packed. I mean, not one. Def Leppard I saw here and there, but not much.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's like they're the same kind of era genre, but they're not the ladies.
They're not the draw.
They're not the ladies band. I mean, they're not. I mean, bottom line, I'm not trying to do no gender thing here, guys. Right. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying fact. You know, my cousins and all her friend die for Def Leppard and Scorpions. Oh, they're because they had the song material for it. They sing more sexy, more fun, more less metal. But Priest is known for their pure metal. We are heavy metal maniacs. How you doing?
And I think this is just me. I don't want to say they lost their way, but I think that was the problem with Turbo and Ram It Down. Is they were getting away from their metal roots,
maybe
their hardcore, and I think that maybe that's why Painkiller was such an important album because it put them back on the metal track. I think.
And then when they came back after he came back from Fight and all that, they did Judas Rising, right? I think Judas Rising was their comeback
Rising,
album.
and then Nostradamus,
and then they went to Firepower, I think. No, Redeemer of Souls.
Yeah.
Redeemer of Souls, and every album kept getting better and better from the return. Like Redeemer of Souls and then Firepower is just, you may as well went Screamer for Vengeance, Defenders of the Faith, Painkiller, Firepower.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the order it could have been. And then their new album, Invincible Shield is amazing.
And I have since because again, I had this old school mentality. I don't want anything after Defenders, right? I don't want anything. So, and Rich kind of helped me with this, dude, you got to go back and listen to Firepower. And I have, and I love that
really good album. Really good album.
I think I probably like Invincible Shield better.
Yes.
They're two great albums, but I completely agree with you that they're really good albums. So
they found their roots kind of on both those albums. Yeah. That was a root album. Old Priest, like Freewheel Burning type of speed pace on some of them, and just that slow, heavy duty crunch on a few of them.
And that's ballads. Okay. So to me, I'm glad you said that. To me, the ultimate Priest sound are not the really fast, the Painkiller. I mean, though I love Riding on the Wind.
I'm with you.
I love Freewheel Burning, but to me, the Priest sound it's Victim of Changes. It's Green Manalishi. It's that speed metal. It's a boom, boom. That's Priest to me.
I love the groove. I love groove metal. That's thrash. Thrash is the same way. I like the fast stuff, but I love it when it's got the groove in there. The dun chugga dun chugga dun or dun 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 dun, dun, dun. Slow, crunchy.
One of the pleasant surprises to me was that they had Devil's Child on the set list.
Yeah, that was cool. You and me looked at we actually, guys, we did the KK Glenn. We were doing the KK. Old school.
I thought they'd want to bring us up on the stage.
They should have. They should have. Just like that 9-year-old they brought up there for Sabaton. They should have brought me and you up there, put us on the tank, and we could have jumped around and been like.
So we'll talk about that in a sec when we talk about Sabaton. Yeah. Richie Faulkner is great. He is a huge devotee of Schenker, by the way. Just so you know, Rich, Marlon's a big Schenker fan like I am. So you notice he's got a Michael Schenker.
I know you get along with Marlon very well then.
Exactly. Notice his avatar there is Assault Attack. So yeah.
Right on, Marlon. Right on. Hey, I can't complain. I love him too.
Yeah.
I'm not Jeremy dedicated.
Yeah. But here's what I want to say, and that's a perfect timing, Marlon. Faulkner and so Andy, it's Richie Faulkner and Andy Sneap is the other guitar player. Here's what's happened, because I have watched live footage from the last couple tours. Andy's playing more and more guitar, more and more solos. If you watch from like the Firepower tour, I don't think he's playing as many solos as he is now.
No.
And that's probably because he's just kind of, and for those that aren't aware, Glenn Tipton has Parkinson's disease. And so he doesn't tour anymore. The last tour he'd come out and play on encores, they had Richie, and Richie's been in the band like 14 years now. Or so.
A long time.
Andy's only been touring as a member of the band for like the last 2 tours, but he's the producer. He produced Firepower and he produced Invincible Shield. So he's very familiar with their music. We were talking about this when they first put him up on stage as a guitarist. He had short hair,
The Firepower tour, I saw it.
Yeah.
And then he's really short and right.
Now he's been growing it out because he wants to look more of the part, so he fits in a little better. But
he looks like the dude from Spinal Tap, doesn't he?
He kind of guitarist. He looks like Ian Hill.
Yes, he does. Now I was going to say that, but I remember the guitarist from Spinal Tap, and then he kind of reminded me of him too.
But here's the thing, and it's interesting. Just this morning, I was reading an interview with Ian Hill about these 2 guitarists now in the band, and he made a really good point. He said, we had to have 2 guys that knew the old stuff. The old stuff needs to sound like the old stuff, right? So when the legacy fans, when the people that grew up on Sad Wings of Destiny and Stained Class and all of that, it needs to sound like the classic stuff. And it does. I mean, it totally did. These guys nailed it. But they also have to pull off the newer stuff, which they did. They nailed. So I was really impressed with both guitar players. It was cool. It was a cool show.
I thought they both, Richie brought life to the band, and that's a good call. A Redeemer of Souls tour where Glenn was still with him. That was the last time we saw Glenn on stage, Redeemer of Souls. But I remember talking to the guy I went with, and I was like, hey man, they got that new guitar player, and he knew him well. He read about him. He knew, he's like, yeah, man, he's really dedicated to Priest, and he wants to get them back to where they were. You know, he brought life into the band. And as soon as he started playing, man, he's so good, and he's so motivated, and he's such a performer that I think that was a huge help for Priest and him joining the band. And because I think did he join for Judas Rising? Was he in for Judas Rising?
He came in as soon as KK left. So KK left in 2012, I think.
I can't remember when
Judas came out for that.
Came out.
And that's an elephant in the room I kind of want to talk to is because part of me, if you ever saw them, did you see them? Have you seen the footage of them playing at their Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction where they brought KK back on stage?
Yep.
So visually, I got to say, it was pretty cool seeing KK and Richie right there next to each other, both playing B's. You know,
it's always cool. It's always cool to see those things, man.
It was cool. And so part of me was like, when Glenn Tipton stepped out of the touring picture, I'm like, maybe they'll bring KK back. Maybe KK.
We're all like that, I think.
We're all like that. Yeah. And to be honest, I'd still love to see that. But
me too.
I don't think it's ever going to happen.
I think there's so much bad blood between them. They don't want to let it. They can't drop it. I bet there were a lot of bad things said, a lot of interviews, all that crap. You know, they were talking smack about each other.
And I think at the end of the day, KK's the one who left. He quit. They didn't fire him. You know, he talks about how he didn't. So during part of Glenn was romantically involved with one of their managers or something, and KK felt like he was being kind of pushed aside and Glenn was driving everything and blah blah blah. Who knows, right? Two sides to every story. But at the end of the day, KK left the band. And everything I've seen, mostly from Ian, actually interviews from Ian, is it's like, well, KK quit. KK left the band. So even though I as a fan would love to see KK coming back, because I think he and Faulkner would be great. Nothing against Andy Sneap, but it would be cool to see KK and Faulkner together.
I just read an interview about with the drummer today, as a matter of fact, came in, and he was talking about Invincible Shield and how the making of the record went, and how all these ideas, just the creative flow between everybody now is just so good that it just was easy to write. But it is one of their best albums. They think, even he thinks, that's one of their best albums since the old days. I mean, it's an incredible album, guys. If you haven't heard it, man, just go out and
it's really good.
Give it a listen. Listen to it. I always say this: listen to it 5 times. If you don't have a hook in 5 times, done. Don't get rid of it. But 5 times, I guarantee you're going to be almost every song on that album is good. You know,
it's a solid album.
It is.
It is. And maybe you don't want to risk that chemistry, right? If it's working well now, you know, you bring KK back, and who knows?
I mean, I'd like to see it, but then again, I'm iffy. I mean, why not Andy just join the band permanently, and and Glenn become a creative director with them or something like that, you know? But he fits. He wears the stuff. He looks the part. I mean, everybody. I mean, Priest put on a great show, didn't they? I mean, except for Rob Halford doing his little talking, and you got another thing coming, and Turbo Lover.
We were talking about that. Is Rob,
like William Shatner?
Exactly. Rob, some songs will just kind of. I guess he just doesn't want to.
But he's been doing it for years. It's not like it's been recent.
Right.
He's been singing "You Got Another Thing Coming" the way he has since the 90s, man. If you think I sit around, singing like a fool does. In a case of a do or die, you know, they're like, "What do you? Come on, man! I'm trying to sing it with you, brother.
Come on, sing it like the album."
But you're talking about speed, and a lot of people say that I'm a thrash metalist. You should like Freewheel Burning and all those fast songs. No, I told you what my favorite Priest song is. It's Love Bites from Defenders of the Faith. I love that song. The way the lyrics and the music follows the double beat, the double bass the whole time, and the opening, of course, with the dong, with that bass chime. God, it just goes right through you. That's the most motivating thing, and I love that song, man. That's my favorite Priest song.
To me, I love the whole concert. I thought it was awesome.
Yes.
And in fact, I left to use when you're old, you got to go to the restroom.
You do.
Especially, so the only song I miss, and I could hear it really well from the restroom.
Bathrooms got good acoustics, right?
Exactly.
I was there too, brother.
For me, I picked the right song to go to the restroom on, and that was Saints in Hell.
Saints in Hell, yep.
Is that from
Stained Class, right?
Stained Class. That's
Class.
why it's not one that I'm super familiar with.
Exactly. Me neither. Me neither.
And so that's the only one I wasn't in there to see, but I could hear it. It was just a great show. It was a good show.
It really was.
I'm really glad we went. I want you to talk about Sabaton. Sabaton was the
Sabaton. So I am new to Sabaton, believe it or not.
Me too. Yeah.
So when I go to shows, I kind of listen. We make a set list. So me and my son, and now Jeremy knows the secret of what we do. We make set lists of the band. We look at their set list at setlistfm.com, that set list, check them out. We download and we make our own set list of the thing, and then keep checking their tour periodically to see if new songs are added in or whatever. So we'll add some stuff in. So we know the songs and we can sing them and, lose our voices and all that stuff. If we don't know. Did that with Sabaton, but I waited till the day before and I made that set list. And when I heard Sabaton, I was like, interesting. And that's how I kind of left it. And then I listened to them again. And like I said, I listened 5 times. After the second time, I was like, whoa, these guys got some serious hooks. Now they're more of a Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Sabotage, Judas Priest, really, that Gothic Celtic feel, but they're more of it. They sing all about every war that's ever happened. The shirt itself says, tour to end all tours, but one of the albums is the big one, or the great
war to end all wars, or whatever.
The war to end all wars, and what was that? The great one, the big great one,
big red one. I don't remember.
No, the great war. Okay. I think one of them. Anyway, as I'm listening to it, I'm like, whoa, these guys are they got the good double bass. They got a great drummer. They got 3 guitarists, 2 guitarists, and 1 bass player that just are all in line or on rhythm. Their backup vocals make the songs. Totally. They have that Celtic chant harmony that just makes the song. And the singer's not even the greatest. He just kind of grunts and but you can hear it. He's
exactly
cool. And he's just different looking.
Yeah, their whole vibe. He kind of reminded me of Udo back in the day.
Yes, I was gonna say that. He did remind me of they're from Sweden, by the way.
Yeah.
So they're a Swedish band.
He's not the normal long-haired, good-looking where the rest of the band is. The rest of them all look like Vikings, And then the singer kind of looks like Udo. He comes out. I love the fact, and that's one of the things I loved about Maiden was the history. Harris was a history buff, so there's lots of historical songs.
A lot of history. Yeah.
With Sabaton, it's like history on steroids. So
it is crazy. They talk about the war like they were there.
Exactly.
Like they're walking up the mountain to go conquer God's warriors up on top of the mountain, and when they fell, there's a piece of the mountain, and oh my God, their songs they're deep. They're deep. So if you like to get into the meaning of the song and you are a historical buff, these guys are right up your alley. If you like the heavy stuff, though, they are pretty heavy and they have some great crunch, but
it's heavy. It's heavy, but like you said, it's very martialist military type.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of flows. It's a great pogo band. So if you don't know a pogo, jumping up and down. Yeah. So it's a great pogo band. Everybody, I was watching people, they were pogoing the whole song. I'm like, good Lord, man, these guys got it going on.
Tell us about the little kid at the end.
So their stage set is awesome. It's all war. They have a Abram tank. I think it's an M1 Abram tank.
A drum riser
cut in half. Yeah, and it's a tank with the guns, and then the drums are there too. So it looks like the double basses are the gun turrets for the tank. Well, anywho, at the end of the show, they're just having fun, and the singer was having a great time. He's like, "Do you see him smiling? Just like, holy crap, Spokane's got it going on. These guys are really there." You can always tell when a band is surprised at the reaction from the crowd, because no matter what, you can see it in their eyes. I'm a good eye reader, and I know you saw it too. He's just like, "Man, hey, maybe we'll come back around, okay?" He's just so excited. Geez, these guys are great. So he's pointing, they're discussing. And he said, bring him on up, bring him up. No, come on. So this guy just reaches over, ignore it because he's from Sweden, probably. They have different handling of children rules, I guess. So he just grabs this kid, puts him up on the drum riser on the tank, and the kid's standing there with a drumstick, this 9-year-old,
Yeah.
Just dancing up and down. I mean, what a way to make somebody's life. I mean, literally, that kid's going to talk about that to where he's our age. He's going to be on a podcast somewhere down the way, or if they even have podcasts down in the way. Yeah. Just going, man, I remember when I was 9 years old, the singer of Sabaton grabbed me up, brought me on stage, put me on the stage. But it was everybody. You look around, and that's part of that the older crew and the maturity crew is everybody's smiling. You see everybody picking their phone out just to film the kid up on the stage. It made my heart felt good. You know, I was like, hell yeah. And that's making a fan of metal for a kid.
Did you notice they put him up on the tank? And then after a while, someone is telling him, I think it was someone from the arena or some legal person made him get up on the tank. So about 2/3 of the song, they got him on the floor. But someone was probably saying, you can't have him up on the tank. Because
I know, I was thinking that nowadays, man, I don't, man, you don't want to touch a kid, man. I ain't touching no kids, man. No way. This guy just manhandled him, throws him on the tank. He wasn't being mean. He was just being He was just being rock and roll. And that's all it was. It was the old 80s fun rock and roll where he just throws him up there and the whole band's jumping and everyone's having fun. And then he's like, and he grabs him and throws him right in front of the stage. He kind of looks around and just starts jumping again with a stick, you know. And that kid, he saw the smile. Cool. I mean, he looked like the Joker, man.
He was
having a good time.
And I thought it was cool that the singer gave him his sunglasses. So the kid puts the sunglasses right on, and it was a cool moment.
So the coolest part. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So the coolest part to me, besides the kid, was when he came out in that old school World War I German gas mask thing with the smoke gun. And this dude looked creepy like a. There's a new movie out, a horror movie. It's independently made called In a Violent Nature. Right. I don't know if anyone out there has seen it or heard it. It's pretty disgusting. I don't recommend it if you're not a gore or horror fan. But this dude looked like the guy from A Violent Nature, right? And he just comes out with a gas mask and he has a big old smoke gun and just smoke. He put it in the crotch of the guitar player, remember? And smokes him out. Oh, man. That was the guitar player's looking at him like, what are you doing? He looks at him like, man, whatever. But they were having fun.
It was cool. And they were. It's so funny because, they're singing about they're singing about wars, right? Right. But it was still super fun. I mean, it was completely fun, and
they get the crowd into it. They make the crowd sing, and it's
the whole look of the band. You got all these blonde-haired. Well, the one guy had dark hair. All these blonde-haired Vikings. You know, that's what they look like. They all got beards. They got long, beautiful hair. You know, the wind's blowing through their hair. And then you got this little. He wasn't little.
He was big. That dude was stocky.
But he doesn't look like your typical metal.
I still can't remember the wrestler's name, but he reminds me of a wrestler back in the day that used to wear a leotard. And he has a landing strip, just one landing strip with the goatee, and he wears sunglasses. And he looked like he was wearing Udo's shirt, one of Udo's shirts. Like it was some European weird patchy thing. I don't even know what.
I would love to catch them on their own tour.
Me too.
I'd totally go.
We're there.
I have to tell you one thing that happened yesterday at the bank. I'm at the bank, and this is how much of a bum I am. So Sunday night we go to the concert. I was wearing my yellow Screaming for Vengeance shirt. Right. I bought this new shirt, just put it on over the top of my shirt. Well, I get home from the concert. I pull this new shirt off, throw it in the wash so it gets washed. Well, Monday morning, I'm still wearing my yellow. I hadn't even showered yet. I'm still wearing my yellow Screaming for Vengeance shirt, and I have to run up to the bank. So I'm in my Screaming for Vengeance shirt, and this gal comes up to me. She said, "Did you go to that concert last night?" I said, "Yeah." Well, check this out. She said, "Yeah, we went too, but we weren't familiar with Judas Priest, so we just left after Sabaton." So they just went to see Sabaton.
Wow.
They bought Sabaton. Yeah, we didn't really know any Judas Priest, so we left. I just thought that was funny.
That's crazy to me. That's the new world. Then there you go.
And she was probably in her 40s, so she's a little younger than us.
So that's why Priest
totally
didn't have the crowd. That's why they didn't have the crowd, because they lost something in that break. They lost something right there. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so we've gone way over. We've gone way over.
So, we do.
Thank you so much for joining us, Rich.
Thanks for having me, man.
Classic Metal Vault every Friday night. early Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. And one plug tomorrow. I didn't even tell you this, Rich. Tomorrow I am interviewing Ross Warner, who's the author of a great book about Cheap Trick.
Really?
So I'm interviewing the author of this book tomorrow night, and so that'll be an upcoming episode of the podcast.
Make sure you send me the link, okay? I want to check that
totally
out.
do it. All right,
brother.
Guys, thank you so much. We'll see y'all. Live long and prosper.
Take care.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I've ever heard.
Thanks for listening. You can email Jeremy at classicguitarrock@mail.com.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Tune in each weekday for the Classic Guitar Rock Daily Update.